Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the next episode of the Brio in the Box podcast. What's going on today?
Today we're twinning.
We are twinning today. One of my favorite things is seeing what David put on in the morning and then putting on the same thing.
We're both wearing the cult shirt.
Pukey the Clown, OG culture.
Mm-hmm. There's been many days where I'm at the gym and she comes in and is wearing the exact same outfit as me.
This is my favorite. Twinsies is my favorite. So anyway, here
other
we are
than that,
matching.
Other than that, it's February.
It's February now.
So we made it through our Step into January challenge.
Yep.
It was 10,000 plus steps a day, every day of the month.
And this was the first year we logged it in Beyond the Whiteboard. Mm-hmm. So then you could kind of see other people doing it too, which is good. I think there's something to that group social accountability to seeing how many steps people are getting in a day.
Yep. On average, what were you? Do you know?
Oh, on average? Ooh, I should look at my numbers. I'm usually like 14,000 is pretty typical for me. A big day gets closer to 20, and then a slow day is 10 or 11,000.
Yeah. So. I am technology free. I have no tracking thing. Yeah. So I just counted every day. I just counted my steps in my head. 1, 2, 3. And I was at least 100. Yeah. I actually have no idea, but I know I'm anytime that like you and I hang out all day, we're obviously very close together. Yeah. And I have a tendency to just wander in the gym when I'm coaching. When everybody's working out, I'm always just like walking around doing laps, and I'm pretty active through the house as I'm like tidying and cooking and doing all this stuff. So I'm quite confident that I'm at least 10,000 every day, probably quite a bit more. We also walk Dash to school most days, and yeah, I'm sure I get lots, but I've never just jumped in and got the tracking thing.
Yeah, you don't wear a watch, you don't have the Oura ring. You can, if you keep your phone on you all day, it will, what is it, Google Fit will do it for you, or Samsung Active or something. So you could, but you and I live like basically the same parallel lifestyle.
I just follow you around all the time like a dog. So
I just follow you around trying to match you. So yeah, we're enmeshed together. I think the peak day, I got 28,000.
Yeah.
And that, I think we were snowboarding that day. So I think that gave me a lot of auxiliary steps that weren't really there.
Right. Because we don't actually use the lifts. We just walk up the mountain and then snowboard and
walk
back down. Yeah. Walk down. No, we snowboard down. What would be the point of walking up and walking back down? That's just called hiking.
Yeah, that's called hiking.
Why would you bring a snowboard for that?
Winter hiking. Yeah.
If you're carrying a snowboard while you hike up and down the hill, you're doing something wrong.
So all of our little monthly challenges are built around habits, taking the time to focus on one aspect of a healthy lifestyle. We've done Step into January in January on purpose because it's cold, it's dark, it's the easiest month to just hibernate and not pay attention to your general daily movement. But general daily movement is super important to your health, your longevity, your joint health, living back pain free, having knees that work, that kind of thing. And coming to CrossFit 3 to 5 days a week doesn't replace the need for general daily movement. Yeah. The gym, we take care of your strength training, your skill acquisition, your mobility, your sprint work, your high intensity work. But that stuff is in addition to general daily movement, spending time on your feet. So if you come to the gym 3 to 5 days a week, but then you get 5,000 to 8,000 steps a day, that's not a good combo. Yeah. That's not ideal.
Yeah, general daily movement is super important. We should be doing a lot of it. There's no minimum requirement amount of, I need to do this for half an hour a day. It's just all day long. You should be active and moving. And that's where the vast majority of your calorie burn kind of comes from. If you go to the gym and work out for an hour, you're not actually even using as much energy as you would think. You're like 12 hours of daily movement. You're using much more. So when we talk about using your metabolism, burning fuel, it's way more about the general daily stuff than it is just working out and then sitting down for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. A lot of people talk about zone 2 cardio being super imperative. And that is basically what your daily general movement is supposed to be. So we're of the opinion that you need to get out of the gym for those types of activities. You don't sit on a bike and do a slow, steady pace for another 45 minutes sitting in the gym. You need to be out on your feet, being active and busy and doing stuff.
Yeah, I think here we are with another, social media fitness trend. Zone 2 cardio is like this thing that everybody's talking about. I think we've touched on this before. The technical definition of zone 2 is the highest power output you can sustain without lactate going above 2 millimolar, which is just to say it's when you stay primarily in the aerobic oxidative pathway. So it's your mitochondria that are turning your food into energy, like you said. So it stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of more new, stronger, healthier mitochondria, which is the fundamental cellular essence of life kind of thing. But then I do not think zone 2 cardio should be a piece of your training. And this is a hill I will die on. That zone 2 cardio should be you outside living life on your feet, doing fun things out in fresh air and the sunshine. It shouldn't be you in a seated position in the gym staring at a wall or a screen for 45 minutes, working at a moderate heart rate. I just can't imagine anything worse than that. It was
when we talk about the other important things in life, sun exposure, fresh air, interacting with other humans, right, being part of a community, those are all other pieces that can be accomplished while doing your zone 2 cardio. Why would you sit on a bike and stare at a wall, like you said, when you can go outside for a walk with somebody and talk and, have a good time? You can get sun exposure, you can get fresh air, you can do all of those things together.
Yeah.
And when we talk about how busy our lives are, why would you waste your time sitting on a bike?
No kidding. So like walking, but also rucking and hiking, stand-up paddleboarding in the winter, maybe snowshoeing or cross-country skiing or snowboarding or things where you're outside on your feet. I think there's something specific to being on your feet as well, that there's like a neurological adaptation, balance, coordination, just using your motor mechanics of being on your feet properly that you need to preserve and put some time in to preserve well into your elderly years. Fitness in a seated position, like on a bike, or it's fine, but that does not replace the need to spend time on your feet. That's super important.
Even when we're doing workouts in the gym, it's an easy substitution to do a row or a bike or a ski instead of a run for people that can't run because of bad knees or whatever. But there's something to be said about spending time on your feet while you're exercising. So we'll often do a sled drag, slow walking pace. Everybody should be able to walk, right? Even if you can't run because of your bad knees, you should be able to walk. And if you're at the risk of not being able to walk, you need to be doing something about that.
You're fighting to get that back. Right?
Yeah. So tire drags or even just a speedy walk or whatever, like spend time on your feet.
I think that's super important. I think it was Natalie that had a good point that made me think, where she was like, even just cooking dinner, she's like, I get a few thousand steps.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never really thought of those two things as linked. Obviously, I'm always like, cook your own food and, spend time on your feet. But I never really linked that cooking your own food is spending time on your feet, and that, people that are struggling and only getting 5,000 to 8,000 steps a day, well, just being a person with your life together, cooking your own food, gets you a few thousand for free. Maybe keeping your house tidy and doing some laundry and you're running the stairs or moving around in your house to vacuum and stuff. That's all time on your feet, and that's all part of your general daily movement. So just cooking your own food, keeping your house tidy should get you a few thousand steps every day.
Yeah. And Natalie's great whenever we have a potluck or anything. She's always got some sort of homemade, awesome, delicious thing.
Amazing.
Like we have 10 or 12 different things that we eat all the time, and they're great. But then when somebody else comes up with something, you're like, oh, weird, I've never had this before. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you eat something that you don't normally get to eat. Yeah. It's like a treat.
I would say I think we cook really simple.
Yeah.
A participant at a level 2 recently, we'd been talking lots about nutrition and how much we focus on nutrition here at Brio. And he said to me offline, he's like, you must be the queen of meal prep. And I was like, honestly, I feel like you would be very underwhelmed if you saw what our meal prep weekly looks like. I was like, there's pretty much always 4 pounds of ground beef cooked in the fridge. There's always some rice cooked in bone broth. There's always some veggies hanging around. I think people would be pretty unimpressed or maybe shocked to see how simple we keep it. As far as I love cooking and I love food, but I'm not cooking elaborate, fancy meals and elaborate meal prep every week. Definitely not by any means.
And when you think about it, like parents, especially with younger kids like 3 foods, right? Like kids really like repetitiveness, it makes them feel comfortable. So if you can get away from the repetitive, Monday's going to be chicken tenders and fries, and Tuesday's going to be craft dinner and hot dogs, and 3 is going to be pizza or whatever, and you can get them onto Monday's going to be taco bowls, and Tuesday's going to be whatever and whatever. You just have those 3 or 4 recipes that they really enjoy. You can just cycle through those things on repeat, and the kids will love it. Yeah. I was picking up Atlas from gymnastics the other day, and I don't even remember what it was. I was just like, hey, this is what we're having for dinner today. And it's the same thing we have all the time. And he's like, let's go. And he's super excited about it. And it's not like I said, hey, we're having prime rib tonight. It was just like, we're having,
I think it was tacos.
It was tacos or something. Like those kids will eat tacos nonstop.
And I've posted about this before. We buy the taco shells, you get them at Sobeys, where the ingredients are corn masa, water, salt, and lime, I think. So super clean ingredients. We grate our own cheese so that it's not covered in sawdust, like the pre-shredded stuff. So like a couple of simple choices.
Yeah.
We get our ground beef from Arlie at Farm 140. She supplies the stuff in the freezer at the gym. So it's like grass-fed beef with some taco spices. We make our own taco spice mix at home. So it's not full of a bunch of flavors and cornstarch or shit.
Yeah.
Grass-fed beef, fry it up, taco spice, shred the cheese, throw them on the griddle. We can crank out tacos. And literally, like, our kids will just eat every day. They'd be like, tacos.
Yeah.
You know?
We can rotate between tacos, taco bowls. We do like a Parmesan chicken kind of thing. We do chicken wings that we just air fryer, and there's no breading or anything. It's just chicken wings.
Yep.
We'll do meatballs once in a while with a meat sauce noodle kind of thing. We do a rice noodle type thing. There's really not a lot of stuff.
Like a peanut chicken stir fry thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty simple.
And those are sort of like weeklies. And then once in a while, we'll do ribs or steaks, burgers as well. Our kids freaking would eat nonstop burgers.
Yeah.
And we don't even do buns. And Dash will just sit down and eat 3 burger patties. It's just bananas. Like, where are you putting all these burgers? You know?
So we'll continue to keep up different challenges each month with little lessons. The idea is not to walk 10,000 steps every day in January and then stop.
Yeah.
The idea is to go, okay, we put a little bit of focus on that and we get that wheel spinning in the right direction and we keep that one going. You should be just generally moving around and going for walks and spending time on your feet. What do we got coming up for February?
Yeah, so February is one we started last year. It's the push-up challenge that is organized for Canadian mental health. So basically starting on the 11th and going through until the 28th, you're going to do 2,000 push-ups. Every day they prescribe a certain number of push-ups to represent a statistic that has to do with mental health. And so some days are 56 and other days are 132 or whatever. And you just keep accumulating your push-ups. You can do them throughout the day. You can do them all at once, however you want to do it. They make it super open to anybody. So if you can't do push-ups for whatever reason, you could substitute sit-ups or squats or whatever. Again, the goal isn't just doing 2,000 push-ups. It's about bringing awareness to a very important cause, trying to raise some money. Last year, we actually were one of the top fundraising teams, which was pretty cool.
Go Brio.
Yeah. So I've posted up the thing already and we'll put it, on social media and stuff pretty soon here too. But anybody can participate, anybody can fundraise. Really important cause, and it's something that's super important to us. So we will be doing a whole bunch of push-ups through the month of February.
And then I think, okay, so what is that? Not even 3 weeks that you do a bunch of push-ups. So then what could you learn from that? Hey, what if I just took a little bit every day, a few weeks to focus on one skill? And how much better will you be at push-ups by the end of those days, those 2,000 reps? You'll be better at push-ups, almost guaranteed, if you just do them. So then you're like, hey, what else could you just take a few weeks and put a little bit of time in every day to get better at? And that's a pretty short amount of time. You're going to see progress in a few short weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just being consistent and dedicating the effort to any skill. You can improve at it.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's something important to having something to aim at. And the target or the metric can be fairly arbitrary. But if you're like, hey, 10,000 steps a day, you're like, all right, got it.
Yeah.
And you just aim at that target. Or you're like the committed club. You're like 20 workouts a month. Got it. 16 workouts a month. Cool. Or let's get 2,000 push-ups in these 3 weeks. Got it. There's lots of ways that just brings like a little bit more accountability, a little bit more front of mind awareness to what you're working on. People might call those goals. I've said before, I'm not a big goal-oriented person, more of a process-oriented person, but I think there's benefit to challenging yourself through competition or an event or a date or things that certain things need to happen at a certain time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's benefit to that.
There definitely puts a sense of urgency when you've got a end goal. Mm-hmm. You've got a thing you're shooting for.
And doing it with other people.
Yeah.
Too, right? We're all going to do these push-ups together. We all were trying to get 10,000 steps a day. We're talking about it together. We're seeing that other people are trying hard too, and we're benefiting from that community social aspect of it.
Yeah.
Which I think nicely ties us into the other thing that happens at the end of February, which is the Open.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Year 15?
15, yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Brio has been in it every year since the beginning. So that means you and I, this is year 15 for us personally, but Brio also has been in it since the beginning.
Yep.
OG.
It's a lot of years.
It's a lot of years.
A lot of years of thrusters.
A lot of years. I was going back through some of the photos from the early years. Oh my God. That's like a lot of time that's gone by now.
I know.
And different trends, and we look a little different, and lots of the same people are still around. I think it's super cool to see a lot of those same faces. Like we say home of the committed, that's what that means is there's people that have also been in it since the beginning back in those early days.
Yeah. A little bit less tall socks and a little bit less compression gear, but everybody's still doing the thing.
Staying fit, aging well.
It is funny to look back at all the different trends that happen even within the small like CrossFit world or whatever.
Yeah, fashion.
Like I remember when it was like you had to just find funny tall socks, you know, there was a word on it or some sort of crazy pattern that like it was who you were, you know, it might be like barbell baddie or bacon and eggs or something weird like that. It was funny.
Extensive collection of tall socks
for
sure. So who should do the Open?
Pretty much everybody.
Everybody should do the Open. I think they make it very inclusive. That's the point. It's the biggest worldwide fitness participation thing that happens all at once.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, CrossFit affiliates spanning the globe. We'll do this thing together. And that's what's cool about it. Is it just another workout you do in your same gym with your same friends? Yeah. But there's something about it that like, you're going to try a little harder than usual.
Yeah.
You're going to maybe try movements or weights that you normally shy away from. It's going to give you that little extra push to try something. Every year there's first pull-ups and first muscle-ups and PR cleans and all that cool stuff that happens. And even if it's not you, you get to be around for when it's happening for other people, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I think is cool now is like the old person you know, in the gym where it's like, hey, maybe I'm done the phase of my life where I'm PRing things very often, but man, it's super fun to be along for the ride with other people that are in that early trajectory of their CrossFit journey. So it's super fun. I consider the Open your annual checkup. You do these 3 workouts over 3 weeks, enter your scores. It will give you a percentile ranking of overall men or women, but also against your age cohort. And that to me every year is just a checkup on how is my performance, my work capacity across broad time and modal domains doing? Am I holding steady? If something declined rapidly, if I saw myself go from 95th percentile to 75th percentile in 1 year, I'd be asking some questions.
Right.
And sometimes that happens. Maybe there's an injury or an accident or you have a surgery or you go through a horrible divorce or you suffer a tremendous loss and like something happens. That life throws things your way that might greatly impair your performance or fitness for a year. But you would want to know that. You would want to see and face the reality of the impact that's having on your health because your ability to do tasks is your health. And then you would be over time working to put your ship back on the right course.
Yeah.
You know, and certainly life comes with its challenges, but you would want to know that. And slowly over time, we always use the term continuous improvement. You'd be wanting to point your ship in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm kind of done looking at the Open as a competition anymore. You know, like I don't care about moving on to the next level or ever trying to see where I rank amongst the world. Like I just don't care. And I think that's fine. That's positive. I still use it as a thing where I know in the back of my mind it's coming and I always have to be sort of ready and willing to participate in a thing that is going to be difficult. It's like when you commit to doing a 5K in the middle of the summer. You know that date is coming and you can't just sleep on your prep work. You have to get yourself ready and then you have to show up and do the thing. And I would love it if we didn't need these sort of moments where we are incentivized to push harder and try something we haven't done before. I wish we could just do that on a daily basis, but for some reason, people struggle with that on just a random Wednesday. For whatever reason, if they're like, okay, this is the Open, I'm just going to try the thing. And then they try it and they get their first pull up or they RX a workout for the first time or whatever. I wish we could have just like a weekly buy-in where we're just like, today I'm going to try the thing. I'm going to go for it. But it's way harder when you don't have something on the line or you haven't signed up for something, you know? So for better or for worse, the Open is great for motivating people to just take things to another level and try things they otherwise wouldn't. And a lot of people are terrified of that. And so they shy away from it. But I think if you can get your get your head right and be like, okay, this isn't about me versus the world. This is just like me checking in with myself, me trying something and challenging myself and just seeing where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. And I think outside the world of CrossFit, you see people will take that mindset and they'll be like, I'm going to, like you said, run a 5K or run a 10K. And the majority of people that enter a race aren't concerned with where their name stacks up on the leaderboard. And if they were, we would almost take that as a bit of a toxic mindset. If somebody showed up at the start line of the 10K and was throwing elbows and pushing people out of the way to see themselves move up the leaderboard, you'd be like, dude, chill. That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, you just want to participate in something with a bunch of people. We agree we're all going to do it on the same day. We show up with that mindset of we're all going to be here to challenge ourselves and try our best. So you gain that energy from your tribe, your social circle, that kind of thing. And then it's just for your personal achievement of, can I do it? Can I finish a 10K? Can I finish it under 50 minutes? Can I finish it under 40 minutes? Like maybe you have your own, personal goals or thresholds, or you get to see comparisons over time and improvements. And that's what it's all about. It's not, I need to see my name on the top of the leaderboard so that I'm validated as a human being.
Yeah. And I think the Open is a tough one to compare, because when you do a 5K, other than the courses are slightly different, a 5K is a 5K. So if you do one in 23 minutes, and then you do another one in 21 minutes, you can be like, oh, cool, I got 2 minutes faster. The Open's not like that. Every year it's different workouts. So you can't have the exact same, turnout and be like, well, I'm 2 minutes faster on workout 1 and I'm 3 minutes faster on workout 2. Like, it's going to be completely different stuff. But like you said, it's more of a just, am I headed in the right direction? Overall, did I feel good with my performance? Did I do as well or better than I hoped? Or maybe I got wrecked by a deadlift thing. You're like, I need to start trying harder on deadlifts. Or again, for the second year, you wanted that muscle up and you just couldn't quite get it. Have I been working on muscle ups? No. Okay. Well, I need to actually put some time in. Yeah. So it's just a good check-in. It's a good reminder of where you're strong and where you're weak and where you should be pushing and where you should be building up some capacity on the more difficult things.
And I think just knowing that something is going to be measured on a certain day changes your behavior. I literally, in texting you yesterday, I was like, I'm in that stage where I got to get my shit together for the Open.
Yeah.
So it gives me that little bit of urgency to get that other workout done in the week where maybe, the cult of busyness could have taken me offline but I'm like, nope, I'm dialing myself in because the Open is coming. So I think that's cool. Research shows that in nutrition, obesity treatment programs where they just have a weigh-in every week changes people's behavior just because something's going to be measured on a certain day.
Yeah.
Same thing, like you said, if you've entered a race or whatever, that your performance is going to be measured on a certain day, it changes your behavior. So just having a date in mind serves people well.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious that for the masses, training for health and wellness and fun starts mid-March sometime and goes until February 1st. And then training from the Open goes from February 1st until the start of the Open. You're like, shit, I got a lot of work to do. If we could just change that dynamic where all year we're thinking, okay, what do I want to do better on this year? And put some good time in ahead of time.
Yeah. And I bring that up when we're coaching and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm queen of doing one at a time, chest to bar pull-ups, one at a time. And every year I'm like, not this year in the Open, I'm going to link reps,
Yeah.
And so I do think of that often when I approach a workout, and I'm like, I'm going to start every set with the biggest unbroken set I can because I'm tired of doing one chest to bar pull up every time when the Open comes up. And so it does filter in. And why do we throw the wall ball to here and not there? Well, because we practice the standard. What's the standard? Well, it's when we do the Open. It's when we test ourselves. That's how the test is going to go. So you may as well prepare for the test.
Yeah.
It filters into the training throughout the year.
Yeah, I am king of avoiding thrusters throughout the whole year and then having them ruin my life in the Open.
Yeah. So, and then we all reap what we sow. We face the consequences and there's things where, for my years of training weightlifting, my back was just in a rough shape. And I was like, hey, if I just don't do a lot of cycling hinging movements, I'm pretty solid. And then I know that. And I know when the Open comes up and it's dumbbell snatches or power snatches, I'm just slow at them. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. And I've made that choice and I understand the consequences of that choice. I'm okay with that. And I know how to be smart too, that somewhere in there is it doesn't serve me well to go crazy on this workout and then hurt myself. Yeah. There's some maturity and making good and responsible choices in the face of the open as well.
Yeah.
You know, in addition to just, hey, I'm going to push myself a little harder than usual.
Yeah. If nothing else, everybody should just come out, be part of the Friday thing, just
fun.
hang out, push each other, try some difficult things.
Yeah.
It's just good for you. It's good for your health. It's good for your mental wellness. You know, it's just a good thing to be a part of. And just like you said, same as running a 5K, if somebody asked you afterwards, oh, what place did you get? You'd probably be like, oh, I have no idea.
No idea. Yeah.
But my time was this.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you should be about the open as well. Be like, it doesn't matter if you're in 56,000th place in the world. That's not an important number. What's important is that you're trying to do your best and you're checking in every year and trying to get better year after year.
Part of the community. And frankly, everyone's excuses, I don't care. I did the open 5 months pregnant 1 year, still had fun, scaled where needed, did the thing, still participated. This year, we are going to be away for one of the weeks at Carly's wedding. We're going to be on holiday. So people are like, oh, I might be on vacation. Yep, me too. We're going to get it done anyway.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. The first week of the open, I have to take Atlas to a gymnastics meet, a tournament in Alberta. So they're like, oh, my kids have stuff. Yep, me too. Like, still going to make it happen. So we will find a way. Even if you can't make the Friday night lights, we will find a way to make it happen. Whether or not I have to drop into another CrossFit affiliate and get it done with a bigger, broader part of the CrossFit community, that's cool too. It's fun. I've had to do that in other years. I've had to do them on lunch breaks, teaching seminars. I
wrecked myself crashing on a rail like a week before the open once. And I just did I didn't register for the adaptive athlete one. That wouldn't be cool. But I just did the adaptive one where you had the one arm, and that's anybody can do it. If you've got something going on, there's a version that you can do.
Yeah. I think, looking at the adaptive division stuff is so cool and so inspiring. I think there's 16 different adaptive versions. So there's upper extremity, lower extremity, blind athletes, neurological conditions, so many different things. And exactly that. People just get it done. No excuses. You just do your best. You show up with what you got and you try your hardest. And that's like the cool thing that unites CrossFitters everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think outside the world of CrossFit, when people are looking for that challenge and accountability, they tend to gravitate towards things like entering a race, like a 5K or a 10K. But then a weird thing happens in that world where the only way seemingly to continue to push the challenge is to just go longer. Mm-hmm. Oh, you ran a 5K, now you run a 10K. Oh, you ran a 10K, now you run a half. Oh, you ran a half, run a full. Oh, you ran a full, now you run an ultra. Oh, you did an ultra, well, now you should do a triathlon. Oh, you did a triathlon, well, now you have to do an Ironman triathlon. It's like that there's seemingly nowhere to go other than just longer. Mm-hmm. I always think it's a little funny that nobody enters Masters track and field and runs 800s.
Yeah.
Because why?
They're fucking terrible.
Because they're so hard. That's so hard to do.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I'd rather just go longer. So people challenge themselves by just going slow and long because it's frankly hard to do, but much more comfortable than entering to run 800s.
You can do a casual 5K and feel okay the whole time versus a maximum effort for 800 meter sprint is like god awful.
Yeah. And even frankly, running the 5,000 meter in a legit track and field event is very uncomfortable.
Well, because they're going fast.
Yeah, in its own right.
Us normal people, if you're running like a 25-minute 5K, that's not a fast 5K. That's a nice jog down the river kind of thing.
Oh, I would love to be able to run a 25-minute 5K. But the idea with CrossFit style training, the mentality, the way we train, the physical capacity that we build is you should be able to show up and run a 10K. Mm-hmm. So you should do that. You should do the long stuff. You should also be able to do Murph and do Chad and do the long CrossFit events that we do throughout the year. But you should also challenge yourself with do the open workouts. They tend to be, short and spicy kind of thing. But also consider why not do a powerlifting meet one day in your life? Why not do a weightlifting meet one day in your life? Why not enter the 2K indoor rowing competition with the rowing club downtown? Why not do those short, spicy things as well? Learn a little bit about a different sport, try something. Just doing CrossFit for a few years, you should be able to show up at a powerlifting meet and squat, bench press, and deadlift. I'm not talking about specializing in that and additional training and none of that, but just show up and do it. Just like you should be able to show up and run a 10K without needing a special running program. It's like you just have fitness.
Yeah.
And you have fitness to do the long stuff, and you should do the long stuff sometimes, but you also have the fitness to do the heavy stuff and the sprinty stuff and all kinds of things.
And even if you're not the type of person that wants to do an actual competition, totally get that. I don't either. But you can do that within the gym. When we have a CrossFit Total day, show up and try hard on the CrossFit Total. Mm-hmm. Or when we do a benchmark workout like Fran, everybody likes to make that their rest day, but show up and do it. Test yourself in more ways than just, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to do a 10K. Like, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to go hard as hell on Fran and see what happens, you know?
Challenge yourself to get a sub 3-minute Fran.
Oh, good. That's way worse than that.
It's way worse.
I would rather sprint a 800 meter run than do a max effort Fran, I think.
This becomes what I call fitness negotiating.
I know.
Would you rather get a sub 3-minute Fran or run, super fast 800s? Like,
yeah, they're both uncomfortable.
Choose your pain there for sure. Yeah. I think, you're seeing high rocks pop up now.
Yeah.
A few years ago, it was Spartan races and Tough Mudders, and those things are cool. And, do something different and challenge yourself to an event. A high rocks is just a long CrossFit workout.
Yeah, super long CrossFit workout.
It has 8K of running and a bunch of stuff. It would take an average person an hour and a half. A really elite time is an hour-ish or slightly less. So, should you just be able to show up and do a high rocks? Yep. If you have a decent amount of fitness on board, just like you could show up and run 10K, just like you should be able to do Chad and Murph and the Open and all those things. So I think we'll see people do that once or twice and be like, cool, just kind of tick off another thing. And then I think there's something interesting to doing CrossFit for the long term and exploring these little branches, these tangential things. Over the years, you've done a weightlifting meet. I've done lots of weightlifting meets. I took adult gymnastics at one point. Bonnie and I took adult stroke improvement swimming lessons at one point. You just like dabble. What if I learned a little bit more about this sport? I did the learn to row thing with the rowing club downtown. I've run 5s and 10s and half marathons and participated in those things. And, you just use your fitness to try stuff, and you maybe meet other fitness active communities of people. So that's kind of fun. And
I think the ultimate test of CrossFit philosophy is to go out and explore other worlds using only CrossFit to train.
Yeah.
So you can go and do a powerlifting meet or a high rocks event or whatever, only doing CrossFit. Are you going to win? No. But we're not specialists. You can't go into a specialist world and expect to beat them doing a non-specialist program. Mm-hmm. But I think you can successfully accomplish any of those tasks. And that shows that you are fitter than the power athlete. You are fitter than the high rocks athlete. You are fitter than the Olympic weightlifter, because you can do the stuff that they can't do, and you can still not necessarily beat them in their events, but you can still do their events with some level of competency.
For sure. And we're seeing lots of CrossFit Games athletes enter high rocks events and do well, not necessarily win, but do well, very respectable. It doesn't work the other direction.
No.
There's no high rocks athlete that can enter the CrossFit Games and not just get completely annihilated and destroyed, right? So one works both ways and one only works one way, right? So there's that backwards or compatibility or...
Yeah, I think it's a lost cause to try and argue with a specialist, because a specialist has found their sport and that's their thing. Mm-hmm. And they don't even understand the world of other types of fitness. They've picked their thing. And so to read about the arguments of the high rocks people versus the CrossFitters versus the powerlifters online, it's like, you guys all just do your thing. Mm-hmm. CrossFit just wants to be a general program where we just make people as fit and capable as possible. And I don't give a shit about what my high rocks time might be. And I don't give a shit about what my placing would be in a powerlifting competition. I just want to be fit and active and healthy and have the capabilities to go out and do things in the real world that I want to do. And for me, competition is not a super important part of that. I just want to continue to enjoy myself and feel good and do things with my capable body.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe if we substituted the word competition for like events.
Yeah.
There's like fun events you can go participate in, and competition maybe implies that we're trying to rank, competitively against other people in a certain position on a leaderboard. But if there's just events that you participate in, it's just cool. It's rewarding to have the fitness, like you said, to just show up and be capable at these things, to be able to participate, to have fun, do things with other people. Certainly running a 10K in a race is way more fun than just going out and doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
There's like people, there's music, everybody's, having a good time. I'd way rather do that than just run 10K by myself.
Yeah. So. The top of the pyramid is regularly learn and play new sports. Yeah. And I think it's one of the most underutilized components, because people just don't get out of the gym. And sometimes you have to just get out of the gym, go do some cool stuff, go paddleboarding, go snowshoeing, go do a high rocks thing, go do whatever. Just use your fitness.
Because you can.
Yeah.
You have fun. Do stuff with other people. Although I will say, people getting out of the gym to play other sports, that seems to be where people hurt themselves the most. So be careful out there, you guys.
It is wild.
Sometimes I'm like, maybe we should not leave the gym. Everything's pretty safe in the gym. Things are pretty good. And then people are hurting themselves doing dumb stuff, like just playing for fun, pickleball or whatever. Somebody was telling me they had a friend that went to play pickleball. So not a CrossFitter, but went to play pickleball. Not even at the game yet, but on the court, tripped and smashed their teeth out.
Oh, no.
And I was like, does that count as a pickleball injury when you weren't even at playing the game yet? That was just a walking out to play the game thing. I was like, oh, no. So
that's the worst.
Careful out there.
It's
Watch
wild.
those toes.
It's wild how many of our people will come and be like, I kind of tweaked my knee the other day. I'll be like, oh, no, like, which workout were you doing? No, it was soccer. Or no, I was, whatever. And damn it.
The gym is very safe. Everything's very predictable. You move with good technique. You have somebody watching you the whole time.
Yeah.
Shit gets crazy out there. You're wrecking your shit on a rail in a terrain park on a snowboard.
I feel like you have to acknowledge that there are, of course, things happen in the gym, right? People will tear their hands or people will tweak their back or whatever. Somebody tweaked their back just warming up the other day and you go, okay, signs that you're getting old. You hurt yourself in the warm up. But it's usually just a minor thing where, okay, I need a rest day. And then you're good to go. The big ones seem to happen doing other activities. Yeah. It's crazy.
I think the big takeaway here is there's benefit to challenging yourself through competition or events, but let's get outside the box and not think that the only way to do that is just to go long. That's one aspect, but there's many ways to learn and challenge yourself and to participate in fun events that aren't just long. They're heavy or they're fast or other fun things too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest obstacles that people face in doing these things is they get in their head about it. Be like, well, I couldn't do that thing. And so, well, I couldn't do a powerlifting meet. I couldn't do a high rocks. I couldn't whatever. Well, why not? You know, like what's the block that's stopping you from making use of the things, If you can show up and do a CrossFit class, you can do any of those things. You just have to try. And I think we all have this weird little person in our head that's convincing us that we're not able to do things. And sometimes you just need to silence that little thing.
You don't belong. You're not good enough. You don't know what you're doing. Imposter syndrome.
Exactly. Right? Imposter syndrome.
I've seen that teaching level 2. So the CrossFit level 2 course is a coaching course. So these are people that are coming to improve the skill of coaching because they are now in a role of coaching CrossFit classes at their affiliate. And many people struggle with imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Myself.
They're like, who am I to coach these people? I'm not very good at CrossFit. How do I coach someone that's better than me? And they have all this self-doubt cycling that little voice in their head. And I've learned about myself in the last little while. Some people are like thrill seekers and they like to jump out of airplanes or drive race cars or whatever. I think I thrive on imposter syndrome. And I actually love the sort of reckless danger of showing up in a situation that I do not belong at all and seeing if I can pull it off. So I've been introducing people to a concept that I call brilliant con man syndrome. So replace your imposter syndrome, all those thoughts and of self-doubt, if you don't belong and you're not good enough and you don't know what you're doing. And you go, yeah, I don't belong and I don't know what I'm doing, but I am the world's most brilliant con man. And I'm going to see if I can show up and pull this off and trick these people into thinking that I belong here, thinking that I'm the best coach ever. Just like, it's a way more fun way to flip a negative thought pattern into like fun and a challenge. It's a little bit dangerous and risky. And you're like,
yeah,
I am the world's most brilliant con man. Let's see if I can pull this off.
I think everybody has some level of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, totally.
When we first started doing the podcast, you were like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, why the fuck would anybody want to hear me talk about anything? I was like, there's no way. I'm not Joe Rogan. And well, no, of course I'm not Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan didn't used to be Joe Rogan either. Yeah. And we started doing it. And at first I probably sucked a lot more than I do now, but the more you do it, the better you get. And I've had all kinds of people be like, hey, we really like your podcast. It's so great. I love listening to it. And I love hearing that. That's awesome. And it's something that started from nothing as just, we're just going to see what happens. And then the next thing you know, we've done a whole bunch and people actually listen and like it. So I strongly dislike when people have the mentality of you can do anything. No, you can't do anything. You can't be the first person to fly. And if you're a 5 foot tall person, you can't win the world record for being the tallest human in the world. There's just certain things that are impossible, but you can get better at just about anything if you are just willing to put the time and effort into improving. So instead of saying, I'm going to win the CrossFit Games, you should say, I'm going to see how good I can get at CrossFit. Instead of saying, I'm going to win the gold medal for downhill skiing. You could just say, I'm going to try to get really, really, really good at skiing and see where I can take it. And if you can do that, I think any activity that you want to improve on will get better. You just have to have the right time and effort dedicated to improvement. Mm-hmm. So take that little imposter syndrome brain, push it off to the side and be like, okay, I'm going to try the thing. And just start. We've said in so many different podcasts, the first step to getting good at something is to be really, really bad at something.
Yeah.
We've all been really, really bad at everything. Think about babies. Babies suck at everything.
Most of them figure it out eventually.
They're good at pooping. That's about it.
I think if there's a quality that sets, certain people apart from others and accomplishing things in their life, it's just not being afraid. Or maybe I'll take that back. They are afraid, but they figure out how to persevere in the face of being afraid.
Yeah.
We kind of say that with our kids all the time. It's what are you going to do when? It's not, don't be sad. Don't be scared. It's, yeah, you're scared. What are you going to do? Yeah, you're sad. How are we going to handle it? What are we going to do in the face of that situation? Many people have a fear of showing up and looking stupid or not belonging or being bad at things. And they let that fear stop them from doing the thing. Everybody feels like that. Everybody's afraid of looking stupid or not knowing what they're doing or not belonging. But some people show up anyway and are willing to suck at it for a bit so that they can get better at it. And in the end, being able to withstand that discomfort for a bit makes things a lot better in the long run.
Absolutely.
And, they've said the greatest adaptation of CrossFit happens between the ears. You just get used to withstanding discomfort in small doses. We say in CrossFit, intensity is the independent variable that drives results. Intensity gets you what you want from CrossFit. It's relative to your physical and psychological tolerances. And you develop your psychological tolerance to intensity by just doing hard things, just withstanding discomfort. And so at first it's in small doses of burpees and echo bike sprints. And then it's in showing up to the gym 5 days a week. And then it's in working on your technique and really staying mentally engaged and all of these things that are uncomfortable and hard to do. And then you just get better at them. Walking 10,000 steps a day becomes just a standard way you live your life. Cooking your own food just becomes the way you do things. And all those things are hard to do and hard habits to establish in the beginning. But then when you withstand that, then they're just how you live your life. And then everything's awesome. And then you get to live life like on easy fun mode.
Yeah.
I
think we just need to normalize the mental gymnastics that you have to play when doing something difficult. Like I always think about the snowboarders in the X Games where they're standing at the top of the run and they're about to go off a 50-foot jump. Those guys are terrified because they know if they fuck it up bad enough, they're going to be in the hospital or potentially die, right? Yeah. But it's that fear that drives them to perform so that they don't end up. But every once in a while it happens. Every once in a while somebody breaks a femur or somebody does something and wrecks themselves. Yeah. But it's not a lack of fear. It's just that their moments of doubt when they're saying, I don't know if I can do this, they also say, yes, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And so when you're 3 rounds into a 5-round workout and you're like, I can't do this, you need to catch yourself saying that and you need to stop and be like, yes, I can. And you keep going and you grind through it and you finish. It's super important to recognize that you're going to have those moments of self-doubt. That's just part of it. You have to just learn to talk yourself out of it and continue on with the journey.
And I think we're seeing a trend in social media. There's guys like David Goggins or Jocko that will just yell at you and be like, stop being such a pussy, And to some extent, people gravitate towards that. Some people like that. They want someone to just give their head a shake and get those thoughts out of there. And maybe you have to do that for yourself. If you recognize you're aware of a thought that pops in. I hear people say things like all the time, oh, I could never give up sugar. I couldn't give up wine. I can't drink water. Things you should, if that thought pops into your head, let alone comes out your mouth, you should be like, what in the world? You should be giving your own head a shake. That none of those things you should be so attached to are so insurmountable that you couldn't learn to drink water in the morning. You couldn't give up sugar. You couldn't get off the wine every day. You absolutely could do those things and would benefit from doing them. Would they be hard, just like quitting smoking or quitting gambling or quitting drugs or any of those things are hard to do? Of course, but you withstand that difficulty in the short term for benefit in the long term.
Yeah. Some of the most worthwhile things in the world are the hardest to do or achieve, that's what makes them worthwhile, right? Yeah. So doing difficult things is super important, and you have to just acknowledge that, yeah, it's going to be difficult the whole time. That's just part of it. That's why it's good.
I think like really high achieving people and musicians, athletes, people that are insanely skilled and specialized, I think the unique difference is just a really high tolerance for boredom.
Yeah.
A really high tolerance to just do basic stuff on repeat to a level that most of us just psychologically would not be able to withstand. And something about them is so dedicated to playing that piece of music or throwing that 3-point shot or whatever over and over and over and over again that they just develop that elite level of specialization. I think there's something to be said for innate talents or genetic ability and gifts, but I think really what sets those elite people apart is just a high tolerance to do boring stuff over and over.
Absolutely. But I think I just had a thought, and this is something we've talked about in previous podcasts that sort of sums up everything we've talked about today. Generally in life, comparison is the thief of joy. If you are so worried about what everybody else is doing, you're never going to be fully fulfilled with anything that you're doing. Mm-hmm. You need to just focus on getting better and improving and trying to do what you can. If I took up the ukulele in my 40s with the goal that I'm going to perform like the Madison Square Gardens one day, I would never get there. And I would never enjoy the process of just like learning something new and trying something that's challenging for me. I don't care how good I get. I just want to continue to work on it and improve and make it better. And so I enjoy the process. So let go of all of those competitive natured, unhealthy thoughts and just enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not about seeking external validation of seeing your name on a leaderboard in a certain rank or a certain accomplishment externally. It's about the process, and the fulfillment comes in the journey.
Yeah. Use the one life you get, use it to do cool things.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
See you guys next time.
See you in the next one.